mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and then we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello and welcome to The Reporter. The Reporter is a news and current affairs program that goes beyond the headlines, bringing reporters from the field to give first-hand accounts and in-depth analysis of unfolding issues, correspondents' perspectives, ensuring balanced, credible, and comprehensive storytelling. Welcome once again. I am Aniete Patrick. Let's quickly start with what's happening in the education sector. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has suspended its 2 weeks nationwide warning strike. President Professor Chris Pinwuna announced the suspension of the strike after an overnight National Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Global Television's education correspondent Priscilla Obasi was there and tells us more.
At a press briefing in Abuja, ASUU President Professor Chris Pinwuna noted that the union made the decision in recognition of renewed government engagement and intervention by well-meaning Nigerians, granting the federal government a 1-month window to meet outstanding demands. Among ASUU's long list of demands are the renegotiation of the 2009 FG-ASUU agreement, release of withheld salaries, sustainable funding for public universities, promotion areas, and the cessation of alleged victimization of lecturers.
As responsible citizens, we were and we still are convinced that it was the most expedient thing to do in order to save our university system from imminent collapse, a cause we have championed for more than 3 decades. As you are aware, the federal government responded to our declaration of warning strike with threats of salary denial and directives to vice chancellors on ways to make unions' action ineffectual.
Professor Pinwuna stressed that the suspension does not signify the end of the struggle, warning that the union will resume industrial action if the government fails to honor its promises within the stipulated period.
This pointedly shows that had government positively responded to the union's earlier notices and appeals, there would have been no need for the strike in the first place. Like we have said repeatedly, this strike was caused by the inaction of the Federal Ministry of Education. Indeed, as far as we are concerned, the Federal Ministry of Education has not moved the needle at all in reaching this point that we are now. Because if it were not for the efforts of individuals, both within and outside government,
stakeholders across the education sector, including students, parents, and labor unions, have welcomed the decision, urging both parties to find a lasting solution to the reoccurring strikes in Nigeria's universities. Priscilla Obasi, Global Television News.
Joining me is our education correspondent Priscilla Obasi to give us in-depth analysis to all of this. Let's understand what ASUU really wants to do with the calling off of this strike. And joining me right now is Priscilla Obasi. Priscilla, how are you doing? It's good to have you on The Reporter.
Thank you very much for having me. Such a pleasure.
Always. You know, you've been giving us updates on this happening, but let's quickly ask you, Priscilla, how do you think the suspension of the ASUU's 2-week warning strike will affect ongoing academic activities across Nigerian universities?
Okay, so the thing is, I am really hoping that the suspension does not derail academic progress completely. So
Okay.
it's one thing to call off the strike. It's another thing to ensure that students can still cover their syllabus and graduate on time. So I'm hoping that lecturers will find ways to make up for the lost time and even ensure the integrity of academic progress, or program rather, is not compromised.
Okay, so a lot of questions are being raised. Do you believe the 1 month window granted to the federal government will be enough to address ASUU's outstanding demands and prevent a full-blown strike? Because it's not the first time it's happening that we always have students' academic activities being cut short because of the strike, because of one issue of payments or the other.
Let me start with saying the facts, stating the facts. You know, lecturers have actually been crying about the same issues for decades, talking about poor funding, unpaid entitlements, and even the fact that the agreement has been neglected this time. So the fact that we have not seen real progress in implementing the agreement shows that both sides, that is the union and also the government, needs to actually rethink their approach. We cannot keep repeating the same cycle of strike and negotiation without, a lasting change. Now, talking about the time frame that has been given to the federal government, honestly, 1 month is a very short window for the gravity of what their list entails. The federal government actually needs to meet all ASUU demands, especially the fact that the issue has lingered for years, for several years. But it cannot show enough commitment if the government uses, the time wisely to begin to, create, steps, not just for another round of promise, because what they have seen so far is promise upon promise upon promise. So I think the government needs to sit well, and if there's anything, for me, I really feel that the demands need to be updated. The fact that they have been asking about the same thing for years, we have grown. The education system has been reformed, it has been transformed, and we need to see that reflect in whatever they are asking for. We need to see them demand for an update of whatever it is they are demanding for, since 2009, like they say. So the government and ASUU at this point, ASUU, the union and the government need to sit at this point to rule out whatever it is that they need to rule out. Because I really see that the government do not want to grant certain things for it to have lingered to this point. So they need to sit down and talk about whatever it is that they cannot put, that cannot be considered, and what it is that they can consider. So that we can have this cycle.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Priscilla, for bringing us up to speed with the situation with ASUU. Just like you said, we hope that the authorities would sit back and look at the way forward, because what Nigerians need right now is the way forward from all of these issues around the education. So thank you so much, Priscilla.
Absolutely.
Well, let's leave Priscilla right now and move away to some other stories, to some legislative stories. The House of Representatives is taking a hard look at rising insecurity in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, despite a multi-million-dollar CCTV project meant to boost surveillance and safety. This followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Amobi Oga, Labour Party, Abia State. National Assembly correspondent brings us more on this. Lawmakers are demanding answers over the $460 million closed-circuit television project installed across the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, more than a decade ago. The project, financed through a Chinese loan, was designed to monitor crime and improve security. But despite the huge investments, kidnappings and attacks in the capital have continued to rise. The House, following a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Amobi Oga, resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate why the project has not delivered on its purpose.
The House more concerned that despite this huge investment, as well as the financial burden Nigeria is subjected to by way of servicing this loan, the impact of the CCTV is not felt in any manner. Rather than abating, crime rate has soared in Abuja, leading to daily reports of deaths.
In another resolution, the House adopted a motion by Minority Whip Ali Issa calling for investigation into the operations and funding of Nigeria's development finance institutions.
Also note that those institutions were created to bridge financing gaps in key sectors, promote inclusive economic growth, stimulate industrialization, create jobs, and provide affordable credit and financial advisory services to individuals.
Also, lawmakers raised concerns over frequent tanker explosion and gridlock along the Bida, Agay, Lapai, Lambata, Diko Road in Niger State.
Further concern that the continued neglect of this vital highway has resulted in frequent gridlocks, destruction of goods, loss of productive hours, and severe hardship for commuters and residents, while turning the road into a death trap for motorists, tanker drivers, and traders.
The House mandated its committees to investigate and report back within a stipulated time frame. From the National Assembly, Anietie Patrick reporting for Global TV News. Also at the Red Chambers, as discussions on the Electoral Amendments Act moved to Lagos, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has said that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, must ensure that the future elections are devoid of controversies. Akpabio gave the hint in a remark after a debate on the repeal and reenactment of the Electoral Act during plenary. National Assembly correspondent Topsy Gimba has the details.
Speaking in support of the Senate President's stance, Senator Sylvia Dixon insisted that the burden of proof that an election was credible should be placed on INEC and not on the political parties and their candidates.
Our political parties are the biggest challenge to our democracy. We have to look for a way by which we can introduce some regulation and control.
On his part, Senator Adams Oshiomhole stressed the need for politicians to stop aiding and abetting young people from carrying out election violence.
We should resolve, each and every one of us, and also collectively, that as elected persons, we as senators shall not, directly or indirectly, secretly or openly, aid and abet unemployed or semi-employed people and arm them to disrupt election.
The lawmakers unanimously agreed that to achieve credible elections, INEC must employ the use of technology in line with global best practices.
To move fast to make sure that all these technologies, as we are voting, people are reporting back. People are having back the results, so that electronic voting, so nobody will complain. Because APC will not complain, PDP will not complain, Labour Party will not complain, so everybody will be on equal basis.
We are in a haste to pass the Electoral Act, and we shot ourselves in the foot by removing senators, members of the House of Representatives, governors, and the deputy governors, state assemblies, elected officials from being members of the delegates. I think it was a very important omission.
Because after this, public hearing will be held, and Nigerians will now from today should prepare to come before the committee during the public hearing to make their contributions and their input, so that at the end of it, we'll have a document or a law that will guide the election, ensure transparency, accountability.
After extensive debates, the 2025 electoral bill was passed for second reading, moving closer to repealing and replacing the...
To regulate the conduct of federal, state, and area councils in the Federal Capital Territory elections, and for related matters 2025 second reading taken.
With the second reading now passed, the bill proceeds to the committee stage for further scrutiny. Topsy Gimba reporting for Global Television News.
And joining me right now is our National Assembly correspondent, Topsy Gimba, to bring us up to speed on all the happenings around the National Assembly. Yes, we both need to talk about it because it was a national issue and from legislature. Topsy, it's good to have you.
Thank you so much, Anietie Patrick.
I like that you put the name. Well, let's quickly look at this. We're both covering the chambers, both chambers, the red and the green chamber, and there's a whole lot of conversation happening across different reforms, which we know is happening. But let's quickly jump at it. Why is the House of Representatives investigating the rising insecurity in Abuja despite the multi-billion dollar? Because we know that this has been done over a decade ago. But in part of that, instead of the CCTV surveillance, there's still the issue of insecurity flying around. Just like the lawmaker said, issues of death is even arising, kidnapping. So what's the essence?
Honestly, this particular issue raised in the Green Chamber is not the first time ever this kind of discussion being held in the National Assembly, particularly in the Green Chamber. You can imagine a quantum sum of money appropriated for CCTV to be located at various, highbrow places where it is believed crimes could be committed.
Yes.
At the end of the day, so much money expended to procure those equipment until today, for you to know exactly that they have been deceiving us for a very long time with this idea. Imagine a traffic light will stop you, giving you red. The intention here is when it gives you red, you stop. But if you contravene by passing, then the CCTV is supposed to spot the driver and then identify the person at that particular moment in time. But if you check around in Abuja completely to tell you how deceitful this system has been, is that nothing happens completely. And we have never seen anybody being arrested using this particular technology to identify the criminal. And so you can imagine the money sunk into this project and no results are being proffered as a result of that. And that gives a lot of concern. And so you should expect, crime rate to increase. And then those who are committing those crimes can continue to do that without anybody seeing it. As much as how so many people move at a time and no machine, no technology to actually help the human beings to identify those people who are committing this crime. And so there's a need for the House of Representatives to now probe into it and find out basically what has been done. In China, for instance,
that's where the loan came from. $460 million was actually allocated for this over a decade ago, and up to now we still have these issues.
That is it. In China, for instance, Anita, in China, there's a particular number of lights you are supposed to pass. If you go beyond that particular light in those 24 hours, the light will spot you and stop you immediately. And you have to go back. You can imagine the rate of development.
Technology that has actually come to play.
There. In our own case, nothing happens completely.
And this is over a decade, and that is actually the more reason why the lawmakers need to actually look at. And I hope that this probe will see the light of the day.
I just hope so.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the Senate and electoral reform. Well, what steps is the Senate taking to ensure that the future elections are really free of controversies as discussions are ongoing on the Electoral Act move to Lagos? A lot of questions ask, why are we moving the Electoral Act, whatever, to Lagos?
It's just a round-off process. Going to Lagos is just a round-off process. Don't forget that they were held in various. This exercise was held across the 6 geopolitical zones.
Okay.
Now they have collated all the information required. Those areas that needed to be amended. Now they are now going to meet in Lagos as in the form of a retreat and agree on certain things before they come back and then pass the bill. That's exactly what it is, and that's why they are leaving for Lagos tomorrow and then to meet maybe on Friday or thereabout to look into those issues. But of course, there's a need for this country to amend the electoral. People have become disenchanted. People have completely lost confidence in the electoral process in Nigeria because of what they saw in 2023. And even them themselves, they are even regretting. You listen to some of the comments they made when they were contributing on this particular electoral act. Because a lot of things are really happening. One of the lawmakers, a senator, I think, Gadbadan Dutse, categorically mentioned that in amending this electoral Act 2022 to reform it, there is a need to check for anybody who has succeeded to become either a governor or a member of House of Reps or a senator in a particular political party. Whenever he leaves, he hands over the property to the party.
Let's see how that pans out.
And I think if they are really serious, they can do that.
Okay, I like the phrase you use, if they're serious.
Yes.
And let's hope that they get serious and this gets to the limelight and the electoral process becomes rancor-free and free in terms of controversies and all that. Thank you so much, Kimba. Always a pleasure having you on The Reporter. Well, it's always a delight when we have Top Seat, but let's move away from the legislative issues and talk about the issue of safety. As Nigerians brace up for the festive season, the Federal Road Safety Corps has embarked on 2025 Ember Month's public enlightenment and sensitization campaign. Global TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports that the campaign emphasized the need for safer road practices and personal accountability throughout the season.
in order to avoid possible accidents.
The Federal Road Safety selected this period to ensure that our men are abreast and ready to ensure that there is smooth traffic flow and no any crash occurrence within the period. According to a comparative analysis of road traffic crashes, Kano State has recorded a remarkable 50% reduction in crash accidents. Injuries dropped by 41%, while fatalities saw a 46% decline. Within the periods, there is reduction of crashes as per the previous Ember months. Now more than ever, the command requires a collaborative effort with government and non-governmental organizations to achieve accident-free Kano State throughout the period and beyond. From Kano, Idris Jibrin, Global Television News.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
And joining us now from Kano is Global TV's Idris Jibrin to give us more on the report on what this Enlightenment campaign intends to achieve. Let's have Idris join us. Idris, it's good to have you. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
All right, well, there was a campaign today on the Ember Month and the situation reports there ahead of for motorists and vehicles there by the Federal Road Safety Corps. What are the major objectives of this year's Ember Month campaign?
Well, as you know, Ember Month campaign is an annual event, and it's not only holding in Kano State, it's holding across the country, because during these last 3 months of the year, October, November, December, you know, it's going to be a festive period. People would like to travel. There is going to be a lot of commuting around the country. So that's why the Federal Road Safety felt that this time around, the Ember Month is going to focus on trying to sensitize people, educate people on how to use the roads and how to ensure roads, rules and regulation in Kano State for the festive period.
Okay, so a lot of people will ask why the safety awareness particularly is important during the festive period, because we move around. So why is that this festive period, that's when the campaign is always brought to the forefront?
Exactly, because that's the period when people travel a lot.
Okay.
You know, people travel from the north to the south, people travel from the south to the north. So there is lots of vehicular movement, even within the city, the state capital, and even on the federal high road. So that's why the campaign is necessary during this time. And the accidents that are happening around the country are happening mainly during this Ember Months period where people are traveling. So that's why the Road Safety want to try to reduce the rates of accident by educating people to drive safe during this important period.
All right, thank you so much, Idris, for bringing us up to speed on that. We appreciate. Well, that was Idris from Kano State, and then let's quickly see a story from Imo State. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says his administration is strengthening reforms in healthcare, power, and transportation to improve the lives of residents. The governor made this known at the APC stakeholders meeting in Owerri, where he also gave an update on key developments projects across the state. We'll have that story, but we'll have Amara to join us shortly if she can, if time permits us. But let's also tell you other stories making the round as well. We have stories across other parts on the foreign scene. We have Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has vowed to crush the Rapid Support Forces during a visit to Khartoum International Airport. The statement comes amid continued fighting between government troops and the paramilitary group that has left thousands displaced and the capitals in ruins. Well, that's it from the foreign scene, and that's all the stories we have for you across. Like we always tell you, these are stories from across the field to bring you up to speed with all the activities happening in the world here for you to get informed. I hope you had a wonderful time with us on The Reporter. Until the next time, but this is where we have to draw the curtain. Thank you for being a part of the program. Don't forget that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on Star Times channel 276. To stay connected to us at all times, kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTV NG. Until we come your way the next time, I am Aniti Patrick. Bye for now.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.